On October 10th, 2024, at 6:15 p.m., the glittering streets of Mayfair, London, set the stage for a jaw-dropping drama. Two stylish tourists stroll past designer boutiques in one of the world's richest postcodes. The man's wearing a £40,000 Rolex Sky Dweller. The woman shines with a £70,000 Patek Philippe rose gold. They look like the perfect targets. Trailing them is 21-year-old Jakob Harkit, an experienced thief and foot soldier for a violent international gang that's been terrorizing London's wealthiest boroughs for years. But tonight, Jakob is walking into a trap, because these aren't tourists, they're elite undercover officers. And in the next 60 seconds, Jakob's attempted robbery will trigger the takedown of a billion-pound global crime ring, one that stretches from the streets of Casablanca to the banking halls of Canary Wharf. You're about to witness the most daring police sting in modern British history. But this case goes far deeper than a street mugging gone wrong. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Mayfair now has the highest rate of luxury watch thefts in Europe, and how one mistake exposed a criminal empire hiding in plain sight. This isn't just about stolen timepieces, it's about how London became the beating heart of the world's most advanced luxury crime syndicate. Welcome to Crime Pulse. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join our fearless community diving into the UK's most thrilling criminal underworlds. Like, share, and tap the bell to stay locked in for every pulse-pounding case. Get ready, this story will hook you. Let me paint you a picture of modern London, one you won't find in the tourist brochures. Over the past 7 years, watch thefts across England and Wales have nearly doubled, now topping 11,000 a year. In London alone, more than 6,000 watches were stolen just last year. That's over 16 a day, every single day. If those numbers shock you, just wait, because here's where it gets truly disturbing. We're not just talking about street muggings. International business executives, people who travel the globe closing multi-million-pound deals, are now actively avoiding London. Not because of terrorism, not because of politics or the economy, but because they're terrified they'll have their watches yanked clean off their wrists in broad daylight. The method is always the same. A target is chosen for their luxury timepiece. Then comes the strike, quick, calculated, and often violent. The attackers vanish into crowds before their victims even realize what's happened. But what police fail to realize, until recently, is that this wasn't random. This was organized, sophisticated, professional, and what they were about to uncover would lead to one of the most complex undercover operations in the history of the Metropolitan Police. To understand it, we need to go thousands of miles away, to North Africa, specifically Algeria. Investigators discovered a pipeline, a criminal highway stretching from Algerian cities through France and right into London's wealthiest postcodes. This wasn't a crew of desperate chancers out for quick cash. These were trained professionals. They studied luxury watch markets online. They scoped out hotspots. They identified the best hunting grounds, Mayfair, Knightsbridge, Soho, areas where wealth walks openly, where a £200,000 watch can dangle casually from a wrist on a Tuesday afternoon. Detective Sergeant Andy Swindles, head of the Met's luxury theft unit, put it simply, they were stealing to order. This wasn't smash and grab, it was high-end theft, targeting specific models, Richard Mille, Rolex Daytona, pieces that could vanish from London and appear in Paris, Dubai, or Casablanca within days. And the money, astronomical. A single Richard Mille can go for £300,000. A rare Patek Philippe, £500,000 or more. In just one day, a skilled thief could make more than most people earn in a lifetime. But this wasn't just about money. What made this network truly dangerous was what they were stealing beyond the watches. They were stealing confidence. They were making London's most exclusive neighborhoods feel unsafe. They were targeting the very people who drive the city's economy. And by the end of 2024, the situation had hit boiling point. The Met knew they had to try something different, something bold. They had to become the bait. The operation that would change everything started months before the 10th of October. Yes, the Met had been running undercover ops in central London for over a year, but this was on another level. This time, it was personal. Two specially selected officers, whose identities remain protected to this day, were chosen for one of the most dangerous assignments imaginable. They'd pose as wealthy tourists, they'd wear high-end watches worth more than most London homes, and they'd walk straight through the city's most targeted postcodes. Just think about that for a second. These officers weren't just going undercover, They were becoming walking targets, human bait, designed to tempt London's most prolific watch thieves into striking. The male officer wore a real £40,000 Rolex Sky Dweller. The female officer wore a replica Patek Philippe in rose gold, so realistic it could easily pass for a £70,000 original. Together, they were strolling through Mayfair with what looked like £110,000 on their wrists. But they weren't alone. The entire area had been wired. Backup officers were stationed nearby. Surveillance teams tracked every move. Hidden cameras covered every corner. This wasn't just a sting. It was a meticulously planned trap, set up to catch the so-called Rolex Rippers red-handed. Now, before we get to what happened when the criminals took the bait, take a second to think about the bravery involved here. These officers put their lives on the line, unarmed, walking into danger, wearing symbols of extreme wealth, all in the hope of bringing down a network that had been terrorizing London for years. If that level of courage and commitment from our police impresses you as much as it does me, hit that like button and share this video with someone who respects the risks law enforcement take to keep our streets safe. 4 hours. Nothing happened. The undercover officers kept walking the same route, from Berkeley Square to Hayes Mews, again and again. They made themselves visible, vulnerable, exactly the kind of targets London's watch thieves look for. They were ready. But still, nothing. Then, at 6:15 p.m., they got exactly what they were waiting for. Jakob Harkit, 21 years old, had been watching them closely. He'd followed for several minutes, studying their routine, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. What he didn't know was that he was walking straight into the most sophisticated police sting in modern British history, and what you're about to see is the result of months of planning, thousands of pounds in surveillance kit, and elite police coordination, all erupting in a few seconds of chaos. This is the moment everything changed. Watch carefully. Harkit approaches from behind. His body language is relaxed, trying to blend in. But the hidden cameras pick up everything. He zeroed in on the female officer's wrist. The Patek Philippe, glinting in rose gold, is in plain view. Then, he makes his move. In one swift motion, he grabs at the watch, yanking it hard, trying to tear it free. But something's off. The watch doesn't come off cleanly. There's resistance, there's a struggle, and then, you can almost hear it, the moment it clicks. These aren't tourists, they're cops. Harkit freezes, panic. He knows instantly he's made a massive mistake. The chase begins, but this isn't some panicked victim running after a thief. This is a full-blown police operation snapping into gear. Backup officers close in from all directions. It's fast, controlled, precise. There's nowhere to run. Watch how slick this takedown is. Officers don't just grab Harkit, they lock down the area, track other suspects, and keep the situation under control. This is what months of training looks like. Within minutes, Harkit is cuffed on the pavement. The fake Patek Philippe, snatched but dropped during the chase, is recovered. But the real win isn't the watch, it's what happens next. As officers restrain Harkit, they spot 3 more men lurking nearby. They've been trailing the same tourists, and now they're trying to quietly melt into the crowd. The trap has worked. The operation hasn't just caught a thief, it's exposed a criminal crew. Mohammed Nos, 34, is arrested on the spot. But Adel Mohammed, 31, and Janice Amri, 37, managed to slip away in the chaos. They'll later be convicted in absentia, but to this day, both are still wanted by police. Investigators made a discovery that changed everything. This wasn't just a robbery gone wrong. It was part of something much bigger, much darker. In the hours and days after the arrests, detectives began piecing together a puzzle, one that would uncover the true scale of the Rolex Ripper network. What they found was both fascinating and terrifying. Mohammed Nos's phone held the first clue. The day before the attempted robbery, he'd been online, researching luxury watches. Not just any watches, Richard Mille timepieces. Some of the most valuable watches on earth. We're talking up to £500,000 apiece. This wasn't random. It wasn't some spur-of-the-moment mugging. It was planned, researched, professional. But it went deeper. Through cooperation with international law enforcement, UK detectives traced links between the suspects in London and organised crime groups in Algeria. What they uncovered was staggering. This wasn't an isolated gang. It was a wider criminal operation, methodically targeting London's luxury districts. one postcode at a time. And the numbers? Unbelievable. Police estimate this network is responsible for millions of pounds in high-end watch thefts across Europe. But it wasn't just about the money. The human cost was massive. Victims described lasting trauma. Some were too afraid to wear watches in public. Others avoided areas they'd once felt completely safe in. The psychological damage was real. Londoners began to feel unsafe in some of the most expensive streets in the world. And then, another major twist. Thanks to help from French police, detectives discovered the same network had been active across multiple countries. Paris, Milan, Geneva, Amsterdam. This wasn't just a London problem. It was a Europe-wide operation, hitting any city where wealth moved freely. Organized crime at its most sophisticated. These weren't just thugs, they were strategic operators. They studied watch models, they learned the gaps in local policing, they exploited loopholes in international cooperation, and that's when detectives realized something truly chilling. What they'd just exposed was likely just the beginning. One cell, one takedown, but beneath it, an entire network, still active. Trust me. What comes next will completely change how you think modern crime really works. The trial of Jakob Harkit and Mohammed Nos began months later at Southwark Crown Court. What unfolded in that courtroom painted a picture of calculated, organized crime, so brazen it shocked even veteran prosecutors. Harkit, perhaps realizing there was no way out, pleaded guilty to robbery. The CCTV footage was crystal clear. His attempted theft of the undercover officer's watch had been captured from multiple angles. There was no denying it. He didn't even try. But Nos took a different approach. He pleaded not guilty, claimed he had nothing to do with the robbery, that he just happened to be in the area at the time. The jury didn't buy it. When presented with the phone evidence, the online searches for Richard Mille watches, and the surveillance footage tracking his movements before and after the attack, they saw through the lie. Nos was found guilty. Recorder Judge Jacob Al-Ghazi, KC, handed down sentences that made it clear this wasn't going to be treated like petty crime. Harkit was sentenced to 2 years in prison, reduced due to his guilty plea. Nos received 3 years, bringing the combined total to 5 years behind bars. But it was the judge's comments that hit hardest. He described the case as a highly organized criminal enterprise, driven not by desperation, but by greed. This was stealing to order, a business, a system. As for the 2 suspects who got away, Adel Mohammed and Yanis Amri, they were convicted in absentia. Arrest warrants remain active to this day. They are still wanted by police. But the real win wasn't just 2 convictions. It was the message sent loud and clear to criminal gangs in London and beyond. The Met is no longer just reacting. It's striking back. What began as a sting on a single street corner exposed a global criminal machine. And for once, the machine didn't get away with it. So, what does this case really tell us about crime, policing, and security in modern London? The implications are both encouraging and deeply unsettling. Let's start with the good news. This case proved that innovative policing works. The Met's use of undercover officers, international cooperation, and targeted enforcement showed that law enforcement can evolve to meet modern threats. It was bold, strategic, effective, but the bigger picture, still worrying. The Rolex Ripper network hasn't disappeared. International thieves continue to see London as a target-rich environment, and the core issue, the open display of wealth on city streets, remains unresolved. The economic impact is real. London's image as a safe haven for the wealthy has taken a hit. Residents are rattled. Businesses are investing heavily in private security. The cost of feeling safe in your own city is going up, and fast. But here's what's most troubling. This case revealed something crucial about the future of organized crime. These weren't your average muggers. They were calculated, international, highly organized. They studied their targets, planned operations meticulously, and exploited gaps in global policing systems. And they're evolving. Social media now helps them track victims in real time. Encrypted apps let them coordinate across borders with ease. Cheap international travel means they can hit, vanish, and reappear somewhere else. Yes, the Rolex Ripper case was a win for law enforcement, but it was also a wake-up call. It showed us that the most dangerous criminals aren't the ones lurking in the shadows. They're the ones using technology, networks, and strategy, while the rest of us struggle to keep up. And if you've made it this far into the video, here's something you should know. You're part of the top 12% of viewers who actually watch until the end. That tells me you're not just here for the headlines. You want to understand how modern criminal networks operate and how we stop them. So if this case opened your eyes, do us a favor. Share this video with someone who needs to see it, because the more people understand these threats, the safer our streets become. Jakob Harkit and Mohammed Nos thought they were robbing tourists. Instead, they triggered the biggest breakthrough in the war on luxury theft. They exposed a global criminal conspiracy and handed police a major win. The Rolex Rippers are still out there, but now the police know exactly who they're up against. And the criminals, they know that in London, their next target might be wearing a badge. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, hit subscribe to Crime Pulse. We dive deeper than anyone else into the world's most shocking, untold criminal cases. Smash that like button, turn on notifications, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous criminals are the ones who think they'll never get caught. I'll see you in the next case.